In this video, I will be showing you how to make a simple Roblox GFX for beginners. You will require some things: a Blender 4.2 and upwards, Adobe Photoshop, or a free alternative such as Photopea, and of course Roblox Studio. If you find this video helpful, please subscribe and like, especially if you would like more tutorials in the future. Let's begin. Okay, so in Roblox Studio, you're going to scroll down, open the base plate template. On Tune, you want to go into the toolbox and make sure you select plugins and search character. Now, install the Loads Character Lite. I'm pretty sure this is free. And once you have done that, go over to plugins and select the Already Pros plugin. Now search your character or someone else's, whoever you're doing for. Enter Spawn Origin, make sure that's got an X on it, and press Spawn R6. Now your character should be here and ready to export. Delete the base plate, go over to Transform and put 0, 3, 0. Now that's dead center. Press the down arrow on here. Now right click the name of the avatar in the Explorer, go to Export Selection, then export as an OBJ file. Press Save. Now after that, you're going to select all the hats you want on the character. Right click on one of them hats with them all selected, they should be blue. Export Selection. Now export it in the same place on where you imported your avatar texture. Now after that, you can press X and close your Roblox Studio. Okay, first things first, you're going to want to go down to the link in the description, install the Roblox starter rigs. In this, it will contain all the rigs you may need for future purposes and this video, along with Roblox HD faces. This is very important. You're going to go up to here, type 0, purchase, and then press 0 on the tip, and then press get. Now open your file explorer, go to rigs, and open the starter blocky rig. Open that now. Okay, once you're in, you want to click the head of your character. Bring this tab up by just selecting the little black bar here and scrolling it up. Click the clock and go to shader editor. Now on the main texture, press the X and press open and find your avatar texture that you just uploaded. Once that's on, go to face texture at the bottom, press X and open it, and then go to the HD faces file that you just installed when getting the Roblox rig. Press search and then find the face that belongs on your avatar. Mine's Happy Wink, so I'm going to use that one. Now bring this back down so you can see your avatar again, and press the material preview in the top right. Now you should see your avatar fully. Now to get the accessories, go to File, press Import, and go to Wayfront OBJ. Click that. Now find the file that you've just installed from Roblox Studio. Mine's called Doggaloo Hats because that's what I've just called it. Click that, and then now it should be on your character ready to go. But it's not ready yet, because if you move it around and stuff, it's not attached to the character, and we don't want that whilst posing. So click your hat, hold shift, and click your rig. It'll be one of these shape symbols. Now in the top left, click object mode and go to pose mode. Now whilst your hat's still selected and the rig, hold shift and click the circle closest to the head. It'll be this one over here, just underneath the chin. Now Control P and press bone. Now go back to pose mode in the top left and click object mode. Now if we was to go in the top right and go to viewport shading, where it's all rendered and stuff, I recommend don't doing this if you're on a low end device, because your PC will most likely crash. It's all dark though, however, and we don't want that. So go back to the material preview, press the world lighting, go onto Google, and when you're back in Blender, press the circle and go to environment texture, press open, and then open the one you downloaded from the link in description or the Google website I just showed you how to get access to. It should be Paul Loeb House, or however you pronounce it. And then if you go back to viewport shading, we should see that our character has lighting, but we don't want this background. So press the little camera up here, click that, press film, scroll down and press the transparent in the film tab. Now we have no background, all good. Go back to the material preview in the top right next to viewport shading, and then after that we want a camera so we can render this. Hold left shift and A. Now go down to camera, click that, and now it should be in the scene. To access this camera and look through it, you can either click this camera up here, that will take you in, click it again, it will take you out. For me, I've just pressed 0 on my keyboard. It's the shortcut. I don't know what yours might be because mine's customized, but once you're in, you can do that. To move this camera around, you can press the left shift key and then the button above the tab button on your keyboard, and next to the one on the left, there'll be a picture of it on the screen of what it looks like. You press them two together, and then you can use WASD to move around camera in the position you want. Click on the rig, go to top left object mode and click pose mode. That should be all good to go. Now you might want to just pose the rig or whatever you want. I'm just going to pose it like this. I'm going to just time lapse it real quick until I've got the one I want. You can follow this pose or you can make your own one. It's completely up to you. Okay, when that's done, go to top left, pose mode and object mode. Now if we go into the viewport, it should be all ready to go. Now I'm not a fan of this lighting, so what you can do is you can press 0 or the camera key here, and the same way to move around in your 3D port is the same keys, the shift and then the button above the tab. I don't know what it's called, but same way you went in the camera and moved around, you'll know you're using that because it will have the little crosshair in the center of your screen and you can use WSD to move around. To add a secondary light source in your thing, you want to go Shift A, Mesh, Plane, using the arrow keys on the Move tab in the left side of your screen. Move it, bring it up and rotate it so it's facing your character. Might want to make it a bit bigger, and after that go to the material tab, similar to the world shader tab with the earth on. This time it's just a material one. Press new, press the green circle where it says surface and change the shader to emission. Now after that, if you go onto your camera by pressing the shortcut or the little camera icon, you can go into the viewport shader. You can go into viewport shader and see how that looks. That looks slightly better. You might want to change the strength of the plane to 2, or if you don't want the white color, you can go for a more secondary option of color. I might go with a more nicer, better orange kind of tone. This will work either way. Increase the strength again, maybe 1.5. This gives you a bit of a dual tone look and it looks much nicer than just plain old white shading, as you might say. You can move it around if you want. I'm going to move it like this, just rotate it a bit, maybe bring it closer, higher, just so it can really reflect on the face, because that's the main attraction of this GFX. Now you notice it's on the screen. If this isn't on the screen, you can skip this bit, but to fix this, go into the little orange square on object, scroll down until you see viewport display. Change the display as to wire and go to visibility and change it so the camera does not have a tick, so it's just like that. Now when you render it, it won't be there and you can only see this outline. This is helpful for any GFX when you're having secondary lighting by using emission planes or spheres, etc. I'm happy with that, so I'm just going to press the white circle here so we can't see any of the colour. Now what you want to do is go back to the camera, make sure your render engine is on cycles and device is on GPU compute. Open the sampling thing, go down to render and change it to about, I'm going to have it on 500, minimum on 5. Now you don't have to have this on high. The minimum I would recommend is 300 and then minimum 5. So maximum 500, minimum 5 is what I would have at least. Personally, if you have stronger computers you can go higher, but there's not really any need to, so I'm just gonna have it like that. Okay, so I'm happy with that on the sampling. After that, you're gonna go up to here, top left, press render and render image. Okay, once your render's done, it's fine. The quality will be a bit bad, but it'll go back to normal in Photoshop. Press image, press save as, and save this to wherever you want. Okay, once you're in Photoshop, press open, find your render, open that up. Now I'm just going to press new layer, the plus sign at the bottom here, bring it down so it's underneath, and press the little rectangle on the left side here and drag it over the entire thing. Now I want to go to gradient overlay, press the down arrow, go to blues and find a colour that I like. Now I'm not a fan of these, so I'm going to click the center and adjust it myself so it's just more blue. Okay, that works for me. Now on the layer itself, you're going to press this little half clipped thing down here, press that and change it to exposure. Press create clipping mask and increase the exposure until you have a certain exposure you want. Now on the layer, I want another brightness thing, so I'm going to press the little eclipse thing again, but this time I'm going to press brightness and contrast. It will automatically be the arrow. If not, right click, press create clipping mask, and that will clip it down for you. Now I'm on my own, increase the contrast, adjust the brightness, and there we go. That should be all good. Okay, so I'm not very happy with this, so I'm going to click the top layer, press the eclipse thing again, but this time I'm going to press solid color, make it white, press OK. Now click on the rectangle next to it, press Ctrl I, that'll invert it. Now on the brush tool over here, you can do this by pressing B or the little icon up here, hold Alt to adjust, make it go left and right to adjust the size, or move your mouse up and down to adjust the hardness. I'm going to have the hardness on 0. On the top here, change your flow to like 6, maybe smoothing 0, and opacity 100. Now I'm going to make that bigger, do some little things in the corners like that, and I'm going to have just them ones in the corners there. Now I'm going to go onto the rectangle layer and do the same thing, the eclipse button. Now solid color, white, OK, click the rectangle, left Ctrl I. Now I'm going to go on the brush layer and add some brush behind our main character, just so he stands out a bit more. There we go. Now on our actual layer, on our render, press the FX button here and go to bevel and emboss. That's giving me some depth here, but I want to change it, so top one's going to be white, make it normal, make sure the opacity is on 100, and on top I might change the size just a bit. Now I don't really like this black shadow too much, so I'm going to change it to maybe a blue or an orange, very light though. Now this is okay, but might adjust the brightness, bring it down a bit. Now that looks a bit better. Go off that. Now I want to add some more additional highlights onto our character itself. Actually, before I go into that, right, I want to bring down this brightness on the white just a bit, just because I think it's too much, like that. Okay, now I want to add some additional highlights onto the actual GFX. Now on this little equipment here, on the eclipse, it's also called an adjustment layer, if that's any easier. And I'm just gonna go to hue and saturation this time. It should already be on the clipping mask. If not, just go and right click it and create clipping mask. Bring the lightness up by quite a lot. I'm gonna put it on like 85. Control I to invert it and go onto the brush. Now I want to subtly just drag my mouse. Make sure you're on the brush tool and just quietly or nicely brush over the harsher edges of light from that top color layer from before. Now the antlers probably need some, so I'm just make sure you're doing this where the light is coming from mainly. So I've got lights in the corners and behind him, so the center is going to be the darkest and the outer areas are going to be the lightest. So just create some of that around his hair as well. That's very important I do so. If you want a more dedicated tutorial to any highlights or anything, just let me know in the description down below and I'll be happy to do a video on it. But for now, this is all I have to do since this is only a beginner's tutorial. To erase any of this, by the way, I completely forgot to say, if you press E or this little eraser button up here, you can then go over it and erase if you want, but that's okay. You don't want it too harsh in the sense. Now along the hair, just going to add some subtle highlights on top of him. Now that's looking much better than before, but I want this rectangle. I'm not happy with that color, so I'm just going to click it, go onto the color and make it slightly brighter. On the layer again, I want some shadows, but these are going to be nicer shadows, not black shadows. So hue and saturation, colorize, make it into between the red orangey area, just a bit more red like that. Saturation, bring up the lightness a bit because it is a highlight of light, like so. Click on make sure you're selected on the rectangle and Control I like that. Now in the darker areas, I'm going to brush it onto his like skin tone. It's mainly on this side because this side is darker, you could say. This is the after, and that's before. Very subtle, but it just makes it a bit nicer in general. Now the character itself on the render, you can give it an outer glow by pressing FX. I'm going to make this white. This just makes it a bit more. Make sure the spread's on 0, the size on full, then you adjust the opacity to depending on how intense you want the glow. Like that. Maybe a stroke if you want to. I'm not going to have one because I want this to be more realistic, but it's up to you. Maybe a drop shadow. Make sure you turn off global light and make it so the shadow is behind him. Now I think there's too much shadow highlight over here, so I'm going to erase that a bit here. Some lightness on the bottom here. It's corner piece here, some light to light, so it looks like there's light coming from over here on the left. And I think that's about it. Now, you can finish it if you want to. It doesn't really matter too much. But what I like to do is, I like to file, export as a PNG. Put this wherever you want. I'm just going to put it here in my folder. And click the layer and drag it back into your main one. That's on top there, just fix that, drag it on top. Now on all this, just to make my workspace a bit nice, I'm just going to group it and call it edit. That way I can close this and move this so it's in the center just like before. No noticeable difference that there is. That's all one, it just merges it all very nicely. Now on the new layer that you've just brought in from exporting it, click the filter on the top, go to Canva Raw filter. Now up here you can adjust like things like the exposure, contrast, highlights. I'm just adjusting these as I go on. Shadows I don't want so much because it's bright view. Temperature you can adjust if you want. I might have a subtle warmer tone or colder tone. Tint I'm not so bothered. Vibrance maybe adjust it slightly, just make the colours pop more. Texture I'm not too bothered about that. And clarity as well, I want to increase that. Perhaps haziness, increase that a bit more. Vignette, grain, give it a bit of grain like that. Makes it not as nice I suppose, but then it makes it better in general. I'm gonna leave distortion in that for now, because this is only a beginner's tutorial. We don't want to go too crazy, and I'm gonna press OK. If you open the bottom layer, the top one, you can see it just makes it that tiny bit nicer. And that should be everything for Photoshop. That was everything for today's tutorial on how to make a Roblox GFX as a beginner. If you would like some more tutorials, whether it's scenes or highlights, do let me know in the comments down below. And if you have any trouble with these things, you can also let me know in the comments and as well on my Discord. Don't forget to subscribe and like, follow my Twitter and even join the Discord server. All links will be down below. Thank you for watching and goodbye.